Today's episode is brought to you by DNA Sports Training. If you or someone you know wants to take their game to the next level, then hit up DNA Sports Training. Visit DNASportsDenver.com to book a training session. We offer specialized sports training from football to track and field and everything else in between. Whether you're an offensive or defensive lineman wanting to get off the ball better, or you're an athlete wanting to improve your overall speed and agility, we have something for you over at DNA. Visit DNASportsDenver.com now and sign up. That's DNASportsDenver.com. Let that mug breathe just a little bit more.
Oh, the Rick Ross.
What up, broski?
What's up, man? How's it going today?
Well, you know, just chilling, man. Ready to rock this thing out. Had a nice little week-long vacation break from from everything, and well, not everything. We still living life and still doing our thing, but it's good, man. Good. How are you and the fam?
Good. Ready, excited for today. You know, we got our podcast going on, then we got game day. So, you know, on game day, I'm always juiced up, so ready to go.
Yeah, man, I know how you are on game day. You like to have your little kind of your process. Just let me be, let me focus up, let me get my mind right so that we can get this ball on. I'm excited. Hopefully these youngsters they seem to be growing a little bit the last few weeks. We took that L about 3 weeks ago. Or no, it was about 3 weeks ago because we had the bye week, right? Yep. So 3-4 weeks ago we took that L and be able to come bounce back from that with a dub, and then hopefully pick up a dub today and build a little momentum, man. That'll be great for their little confidence and for what they got going on. So yeah, super stoked, man.
For sure. And speaking of what they got going on, what we got going on, make sure everybody goes to DNASportsDenver.com. Book you a session, get you some merch, check out a podcast, ask you a question, do whatever you need, but go to DNASportsDenver.com right now.
And for most everywhere that listens to us here locally in the States, and it's getting to be beanie and sweater weather, so yes, make sure you go hit up the merch over there on DNASportsDenver.com, pick you up a dope beanie, a dope sweater, get yourself right for the upcoming cold weather that seems imminent now at this point. I know the mornings have been feeling a little more chill here in the Mile High. 46 degrees yesterday when I looked at it, 48 this morning. I was like, ooh, it's a little crispy. I still went out there in shorts, though. So
yeah, but you had a hoodie on probably.
Nah, man, I came like this today, shorts and a T-shirt, bro. I ain't afraid of the cold.
Yeah.
Now, when it dips down below 35 and it's snowing, yeah, I'll wear appropriate attire, bro.
Yeah.
My job, dude, it's funny because my job used to, when I worked in the warehouse back over there, they used to have this rule about you couldn't wear shorts outside of, so basically you can only wear shorts from May to September. And so you couldn't wear shorts during like the dog days of what they used to call Indian summer, you know, when them late summers, when it's October and it's freaking 90 degrees, we'd be out there sweating it out in pants and stuff. And they got away with that. They did away with that rule, but it was like, I used to always argue with my supervisor, like, man, me wearing shorts isn't going to change my effort or my ability to do my job. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? But,
yeah.
You know, it is what it is. So goes life. Yo, shout out to everyone listening. Shout out to everyone that's been following. Make sure you hit up Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, almost in MySpace, Facebook, Instagram, all that. Make sure you follow us, like us, subscribe to our YouTube page. More content coming on that YouTube page, man. I know we've been slacking on that, but, you know, sometimes it's that busy time of season, man. Again, DNASportsDenver.com. You can find all that stuff. But, yo, a lot of stuff's been going on in the 2 weeks that since we last touched base with y'all. The midst of the whole Draymond Green controversy with him socking up Jordan Poole in practice, and then the video leaked, which looked bad.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy though, because that's been happening for years. Dude. You know, it happens for years. The fact of the matter is social media makes a lot of the normal things that happen within a high energy competitive practice gets leaked out to the public, and now Draymond has some answers.
Makes it more visual, more in your face, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, you're right, because I mean, it happens every year in NFL too. Like, there's always fights in training camp.
Aaron Donald.
Yeah, I mean, you battle with your boys all off season long, training camp long, whatever, and there's bound to be some scuffles. There's bound to be some disagreements. It's like hanging out with your brothers. There's always bound, when you're a kid, there's always bound to be somebody crying here.
Oh, as competitive as the two of us are, I'm sure there's probably been players in the past that have thought that some of our heated, competitive nature conversations were going to escalate to something else. But we're true professionals at what we do, and it's all competitive nature. So
now, imagine being on that professional level. Everybody in that professional level are alphas. You know what I mean? For the most part, everyone's straight alpha dog, like, cutthroat. You know what I mean? Like, just that's how you get to that level. And so to put that all on a basketball court with their personalities and whatnot, bro, I'm sure there's some situations. I mean, remember the old beast with Kobe and Shaq? Like, it's been going on forever, man. Michael Jordan at the last The Last Dance that highlighted a bunch of different things that were going on. Was it Jordan who punched Kurz is one of the conspiracies or whatever? So that stuff's been going on forever. I think it's like you said, though, social media gives us a new light on it. People have cameras at practice or whatever.
And instead of the media taking it and spinning it and trying to diminish Draymond or the Golden State Warriors, like, maybe we should take it and turn it into a learning opportunity and tell young people, like, even heated conversations can escalate into physical altercations. You know what I mean? Like, putting your hands on somebody, every action has a reaction.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And Poole and Draymond were going back and forth. Poole decided to push him. And you can't control the way the other person's going to react all the time. And he got popped in the mouth. Draymond did what he felt that he had to do in that particular moment. You know what I mean? If he could take it back, I'm sure he would. You know what I mean? But sometimes you never sometimes you can't control the way somebody's going to react in the heat of the moment. So you got to really think about that before you do something that cause somebody to react to you in a negative way, or you got to be prepared for it.
Well, and you don't step to somebody squared up.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. You don't step to somebody squared up.
If you come in
and
my
not expect
space,
someone to defend themselves,
exactly.
Like, bro, you get up in my inner circle and you're squared up on me, like you look like you ready to square up and fight, like. I'm George Bush in that situation, and I'm delivering the shock and awe preemptively.
And depending on the environment, right? Even if it's not you squaring up on me, if we're in a heated environment and you step into my physical space where I don't feel protected, I'm probably going to put my hands on you. But the same goes for Draymond, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm
talking maybe Poole out you getting a little too close to me, back up.
Yep.
And Draymond reacted the way he did. You know what I mean? Like maybe they.
What about the context too? Because I'm sure this wasn't just the isolated incident that caused it. This is probably the back and there. It looks like they were scrimmaging.
Yeah.
So this is probably back and forth. And
I'll tell you what, like football is physical, and there's a lot of back and forth like that. But basketball, bro,
especially down low.
I've been in a lot of basketball games in my life where it's gotten very chippy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Where there's
and
a
that's
foul.
just pickup.
Somebody's continuously fouling you, or you feel like you're getting fouled, and you're like, bro, get back up.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then fouls, no calls turn into
the next thing you know, they're pulling each other away from each other.
Yeah, bro. I've been there. I've done that. Shouts out to, like, they got to just figure it out. Again, don't go through it, grow through it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Learn from your mistakes and move on. I know regardless of how it went for them, they didn't do too good against the Nuggets the other night. So, you know what I'm saying?
Well, we'll get into that later on, man. I'm super stoked for the Nuggets coming up. Something else that we missed, bro, was St. John Bosco and Mater Dei played each other, top two teams in the country, according to Max Preps. St. John Bosco was number 1 at the time, Mater Dei number 2. And Mater Dei downed them 17-7 in a what was described as a defensive slugfest.
Yeah, it was close. It was close for a while.
It was 7-7 up into the midway through the fourth quarter, I think.
Yeah, and then I think there was a couple injuries that kind of happened, and then they just ran away with the game eventually. But they're two powerhouse teams. I expect to see these two teams continue to have success throughout the year and probably end up meeting each other again later on in some kind of competitive nature. Because
Dude, the wildest thing with this one was, and you're right, they'll probably meet each other later on down the road. The wild one about this one was the ticket prices.
oh, I know.
They were going, they sold out like in an hour or something like that, and then they were going on the secondary market for up to like $150 to $500. Like,
Where's that money go? Like, what school profits off that?
Well,
the home team? Like,
no,
or
because
is it
the school gets like what they sold the ticket for. These are all secondary markets, so these are brokers like they do when they buy up the pro tickets and they scalp them. That's what that is. That didn't even go to the school, bro. That don't even go to the school. The school gets whatever they charge the ticket price was. These are on the secondary market. So them tickets were going that weekend were going for more than, I think, the Miami Dolphins were playing. Who were they playing? They played this. No, it wasn't the Dolphins. Yeah, it was the Dolphins and New York Jets.
Oh, yeah.
Them tickets went for more than that game. There was several NFL games that those tickets on the secondary market were going for more than, and it's wild to see, man, because it's just a high school game. But there's something over, I forget what I was reading. There was the level of D1 recruited commits on both those teams combined. It's just astronomical, man. It's like half the team on each side is FBS recruited or FCS recruited.
Both of these schools have been high school powerhouses for a long time and have contributed a lot to the NFL and the college level in regards to high-end athletes, so they have a formula for success, but it just shows how much backing, support, and money really is in high school football. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody else third-party people could come in and benefit financially off of it like that, why doesn't the high school football association start figuring out how to make some of that money so that way they can continue to grow these high school programs and give it a different platform? I
don't know. It's regional too, bro, because like you get to California, Texas, and Florida, football is huge. Ohio, football is huge.
Yeah.
I was talking to Jacob the other day because they went up and played Meade.
Yeah.
And I shared to him our experience of being in the booth up there at Meade and how rocking it was.
I watched their game versus Meade, and I was telling Vita, I was like, this is a legit high school football game. Like, this is how it should be.
Yeah.
And this is how it is in other states for every game throughout the state, not just one particular part of town. Like,
well, that's how it was on the Western Slope when I was living out in Grand Junction. Even when I went up there and I saw Tiff and them playing up there, town shows out. Mm-hmm. Like, town all comes out. I mean, them stands are full. It's true Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
And, that's what, you miss in a lot of, like, in the city, you miss that a lot. Like,
yeah.
We used to have some crowds for our homecoming games, and North gets really good attendance. I'm really proud of, North High School's attendance at games because they get people to come out. But I remember I've seen some games just either, being a spectator, shooting games, whatever, where there's minimal people in the stands, dude, and it feels empty.
Let me ask you this. Is it the demographic of people, or what do you think contributes to that? Because I think the demographic for North in particular, you bring up North, has changed throughout the last couple of years, and we've steadily seen the increase in incoming freshmen, a lot of people participating in more sports. The sports programs all seen an increase in numbers, and you're starting to see an increase in support from parents and the community. So do you think it's the demographic necessarily that's moving in, or do you think it's just...
What I think it is, bro, is kind of, you touched on it earlier, is it's the emphasis and desire to have that platform for what you want to do for your kids, right? So you mentioned the support that goes behind St. John Bosco, goes behind Mater Dei, to build them programs up and to have the fans that they have come out to them. And I think it's the same thing with North specifically, because we've been there. Mm-hmm. Like, we've seen an emphasis on participation. We've seen an emphasis on getting kids out. Sean Bowers and I and Chris, we've built that track program from when we had, 20 kids at best total to where we had this last year. We had almost 80 kids come out. We consistently brought a full ladies and gentlemen's track team to every meet. You got Northfield last year, bro. They brought out 100+ kids for track, like their football team. the buy-in for their football team has been tremendous over the course of the last 4 or 5 years since its inception. Knowing some of the coaches over there and everything that they've done to build that program. Riverdale Ridge, another one where you've got tons and tons and tons of resources that go into building these programs, and now they're perennial contenders in everything besides just football. Like all their other athletes, their sports, they compete. Softball, they compete. You know what I mean? And so I think it's that emphasis. It's that desire to support these programs to make them be something. I remember when I got on at track over at North, and we were talking about, we didn't have a discus ring. We didn't have a lot of our infrastructure, and we were talking about like, we want to be a program. We got to have these things in order to be able to be a program and to attract the quality athletes that we want to attract, because let's not act like kids aren't seeing high schools and what they're about and what they have and aren't using that to make their decisions, especially with choice enrollment, to enroll in a certain school or to have a desire to go to a certain school. So I think that goes a long way with it, where if you have the structure, the infrastructure, you have the commitment and the desire to grow these programs, you'll be able to do that, and you'll be able to attract athletes to go to them programs to play.
Yeah, no, I agree. Commitment is a big part of it. Even parent commitment, right? Like, I was just having the conversation with one of our parents from our team and actually one of the other coaches on our youth team. And, you know, I was just saying how attendance has really affected us this year, and that I need to have a conversation with the parents and ask them the expectation of our football program. Because if they expect to win, right, it's not always about winning, it's about development. But if they expect to win, there's a certain level of commitment that comes with that. That means being to practice. That means showing up for film study. That means doing all the unnecessary things, participating a little bit more in order to achieve success like that. You know, you can't success just isn't given.
No, it's got to be earned.
Yeah, you know, and it takes a lot of commitment from the community for schools to have success in participation and numbers, you know.
It's interesting that you said the parent participation too, because I think back, because I can't speak on North this year for football wise because we're not there. The previous 4 years we were there, and we were blessed with a great support staff from our parents. Them seniors that we had last year had and on down, the parents were a lot really active. They were extremely active, a lot more active than you see sometimes for a large program like that. So active, in fact, like up until COVID, they were providing the team meals for pregame meals before the night before game. They were actively, you know, helping in fundraise, and you know, that kind of stuff goes a long way again to, like you said, to build that support. Because if you're asking corporations or businesses for money to donate and you don't have that same kind of support coming from within, it's kind of hard to expect that to come back. But if you're getting full support from your parents, your staff, the alumni, and then now you can go out and ask businesses, hey, sponsor us, support us in what we're doing, that creates that movement around the program that helps build that program into be something, man. And it doesn't always equate into like success on the field, but it equates into opportunities and competing on the field.
Correct.
So it's definitely important, bro. One last thing that's been going on, man, that we since we've been gone is now recently Dan Snyder came out and said he has a bunch of dirt on NFL teams, man. What do you think about Dan Snyder now trying to clear out his closet, saying he's got dirt on teams?
Well, I think everybody should take him serious, being that he did, you know, run John Gruden out the league by doing the same sort of thing, you know, and being, I mean, I don't really agree with people trying to bring other people down because the heat's on them. Yeah. You know, the intention's on them, so now they want to bring other people down. You know, I think a lot of people, you know, probably should be worried and think about what they've said over the years and maybe get ahead of it before it comes out. But, you know, it's hard to say, man. It's first of all, no one's going to ever cripple the NFL. Yeah. The NFL, they'll just get new owners. They'll replace the old owners with new owners, and the NFL will continue to thrive on.
But, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
I was going with the but go ahead. I'll let you.
But, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, they haven't voted to make him sell his team or anything yet. Like, and the stuff that's already come out in terms of like the sexual harassment, the violent or the hostile workplace, some of his shady business dealings. what does he have dirt on people?
Well, is this just a ploy? You know, is this a ploy to buy him time? Again, like, I think...
Like, maybe he don't have it, but he's like, yo, I got dirt on y'all.
Yeah, maybe, you know, they haven't really reacted the same way they would another owner because he came out and said, you know what, yeah, I have these things on me, but I also have a ton of emails that'll cripple the whole NFL.
Yeah.
Starting with your golden boy,
Yeah.
Mr. Jones. You know what I mean? So, like,
This is true.
if he's deflecting a lot of, again, I don't agree with people who deflect attention away from themselves to bring negative attention on others, and that's exactly what he's doing. But at the same time, we got to clean up some of the BS that's going on behind the scenes, but we also have to be aware of the time frame in which these things were done. You know what I mean? Like,
and I don't respect how he's doing it, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get backed into a corner and be like, oh, now you can't get mad at me. I got shit on all of y'all. I'm gonna sue y'all.
Well, he's trying to get people in trouble for what they did years ago because of what he's doing today.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
That's
like,
true. Although if it's like shady business dealings and he knows everyone else is doing shady business dealings, like, you know, maybe he thinks everyone does shit like he does. And it might be a handful of people that do things the wrong way. It's kind of like society. There's a group of people that do it the right way, a group of people that do it the wrong way. Like,
yeah, and who's to say? Maybe some of the people that he's threatening are continuing to do things in the same way. They just haven't got caught.
yeah,
You know what
and
I
that
mean?
might be why them votes ain't coming. Be like, yo, let's vote this fool out. Nah, leave him alone. Leave him alone.
I'm very interested to see how this plays out, man. But like I said, I think he's a snake, obviously.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He is not good for his organization or the league at this point. And I'm just interested to see who's he going to take down with him.
I will say, bro, Jerry Jones has some things that's come up in the past and has some hush money paid to women and, you know, who allege certain things. And so I'm not surprised that some of these owners are they might be checking their own luggage real quick to make sure they ain't got something they ain't supposed to have in there. You know, deleting files, deleting emails, wiping servers clean. You know, I can see that happening, bro, because
Paying hush money.
Yeah, dude, because I truly don't believe that Dan Snyder's just a isolated incident or.
Oh, no. And I don't think he's just throwing out empty threats.
Nah.
You know what I mean? I think he obviously has shown that he
Saves receipts,
bro. So, like, people should be worried, but also people should be carrying themselves how they should be carrying themselves.
Well, hopefully it's a checkup from the neck up with this situation, because hopefully these owners would be like, yo, you know, maybe I had to do something. You listening, Stephen Ross, Dolphin owner? You better listen up, because you got your own problems. But, you know, maybe that's what it is, dude. Maybe this sends a shockwave through the league. I would love to see some accountability.
Let me ask you this. Do you think, right, rest in peace, do you think with all this controversy that's going around, do you think Al Davis would have been in the middle of a lot of this? Or a target of some of this? I kind of feel like he would have.
I think maybe on some of the business dealing things, perhaps. There was something a while back with the Raiders cheerleaders.
Yeah.
About pay and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they're not the only ones.
No, I know, but I'm just saying,
I do think because he was much maligned.
And I mean, he's a big influence to the game, and he's a big part of the game. You know what I mean? Like, he's, again, coached, owned. He's done a lot for the game of football.
Well, and he's kind of like hasn't drummed to the league's beat. You know what I mean? Like, he's kind of done his own thing because, you know, his moves from Oakland to Los Angeles to Oakland, you know, the planned move to Vegas and all that. I know that was more under his son, but it was all in the same direction. He'd been trying to move out of Oakland for years prior to his death. So I can see the league coming at him for sure.
I mean, I just think Dan Snyder in particular would probably have him on his list.
I mean, he already did in a sense, like, because he targeted the Raiders.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He targeted John Gruden. Like, and I know John Gruden worked for him, and, you know, Jay Gruden was the coach over there, right? Yeah. So, you know, I don't know. I could see it. I wouldn't be surprised, to put it that way.
Yeah.
Monday night, bro. there was a football game, the Chiefs and the Raiders. It got a hotly contested finish. Josh McDaniels questionably went for a 2-point conversion.
I would have did the same.
We talked about that. You texted me right away, like, what would you have done? And that stadium, that team, that situation, you go for the 2 and try to get the win and get the hell out of there. You don't go to overtime.
Yeah.
And I know you got Dan Carlson, who's just probably one of the best kickers next to Justin Tucker in the NFL right now. But you get the 2-point and you get the hell out of there because you're not going to overtime with that team. You've already seen what they did against the Bills and what they've done against other teams. I think there's enough record out there to show that you go for the 2-point conversion. But at the end of the game, Davante Adams is seen walking off the field, and he appears to push a cameraman down. Now, whether or not it looked a lot worse than I imagined it probably was.
Yeah.
However, there's been some repercussions about it.
Yeah, like we talked about it earlier with the Draymond situation, right? Every action has a reaction. What I will say is Davante Adams apologized for this immediately after.
Yeah.
Before he answered any press conference questions, he immediately apologized to the cameraman. But we also talked about coming into someone's personal space.
Yeah.
In a heated environment where they were throwing water bottles on the fields and racial slurs throughout the end of the game. It's a AFC West rivalry, and probably the biggest one in my opinion. But in the heat of the moment, he's running off the field, and this guy runs across the tunnel, and right in his way, right? There's a lot of cameramen out there saying, "Oh, he's just doing his job," right? While the security is supposed to clear the tunnel at the end of the game so players can go through it safely. They didn't do their job.
Correct.
Right? Cameraman is there to take photos, not run across the tunnel and put himself in the way of people. Now, again, I'm not trying to justify what Davante Adams did. He obviously owned up to it and said he was wrong, and he is wrong for pushing the cameraman. However, we're all human, and sometimes we have a lapse of character, and we have to own up to it. He's owning up to it, but I think that other people need to also take this situation and learn from it, right? Do your job. Everybody's there to do your job. So security, make sure no one's running across the tunnel when someone's coming through there.
Yeah. And now it appears that they've charged Davante Adams with it says misdemeanor, but from what you were saying and what I was reading too, is more of like a civil ordinance kind of thing. And so they hit him with that. I imagine this will get downplayed. He write the check. Like, unfortunately, that just get it out of here. You don't have to deal with it, But I imagine it'll get downplayed, probably tossed out. It's one of those things, dude, where, like you said, he's working. They're both working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, it's not like when Dennis Rodman kicked the cameraman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, where he maliciously did it. I wouldn't say this is Davante Adams being malicious. I say this is definitely being super emotional about the situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And even if there was malicious intent, right? Because, again, everybody has emotional reactions to how they're feeling at the time in the situation. This man has never been in trouble by the league or criminally ever, right? He is what you want in the NFL. He's a leader on and off the field. He carries himself well. He had one lapse of bad judgment. Move on. He has been charged under a city ordinance as an assault. It's less than a misdemeanor, and he can basically spend up to like 180 days in jail or up to $1,000 of a fine. $1,000 to Davante isn't much, but I'm sure after he goes through the court proceedings, a lawsuit will soon follow after that, kind of like in the Bobby Wagner situation, where the streaker runs across the field and gets tackled on the field.
That one's way different.
It is different.
That guy deserved that shit.
Kind of. Let me tell you why.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's different in the fact that Davante Adams pushed this dude, like, out of frustration, right? Bobby Wagner just tackled a guy who was trespassing on a field, but however, in the court of law, he can't put his hands on him. It's still assault. That's not his property that he was trespassing on. If somebody came onto my property and you put your hands on them, that's assault still. You're not protecting your own property at that point, and you have to have. There's a whole lot of loopholes to where he
Big
still
difference
is assault.
though is Wagner wasn't charged.
Well, they're still talking about that. The city and the DA says that he definitely has grounds to press charges against against Bobby Wagner. It hasn't yet, but the guy has came out and said, I have a concussion and this and that, so we'll see how it starts to progress.
Where did that happen at? Where was that game at?
That game was in a Monday night game versus the 49ers.
So it was in San Francisco, right? Because it wasn't in LA.
Santa Clara place.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's still California, so I can see. I'll still see them charging Bobby Wagner with some bullshit.
Well, you got to think about it, right? Now let's talk about this part of it. Davante Adams, Kansas City, pushes a worker from Kansas City, rival.
Yeah.
Right? 49ers, Rams, rival.
Yeah.
They're in Santa Clara. Bobby Wagner just happens to get charged or with they're pursuing criminal charges or even a lawsuit against their rival team's football player. Now,
my thing is that dude's all right. So specifically in the Adams thing is different because the cameraman belonged there.
Yeah,
like,
true.
You know what I'm saying?
100%
like,
true.
If this dude doesn't hop on the field, like you play dumb games, you win dumb prizes, bro. And it's if they charged Bobby Wagner in that one, I'd be a little frustrated because there's a responsibility to uphold he
protected the brand.
Dude shouldn't be out on the field running around.
Correct, but
if you jump into a lion's den, you're probably gonna get eaten by a lion.
Have you ever worked for a convenience store or anything like that?
Hell yeah.
Have you ever been told if you get robbed, just let them take everything
You
and
damn
don't
right.
chase them?
You damn right.
If somebody steals something, don't follow them outside and
Yeah.
put your hands on them.
Yep.
You know why?
Yep.
'Cause
Liability.
Well, not only is liability, it's not your position to defend that establishment.
Hey, that's an NFL field. That's not a convenience store.
Bobby Wagner doesn't own the NFL.
Bruh.
He doesn't own that stadium.
Bruh, here's the other thing.
He has no right to physically put his hands on
Dude
anybody
is running
to
with a
protect
smoke grenade, which could be something else. He, for all Bobby Wagner knows, this dude's trying to do some crazy shit.
Agreed.
And we live in a crazy world.
Agreed.
And all Bobby Wagner knows is, I got to step up and save the day.
Hey, listen, I would have stuck the shit out of that dude too.
Yeah,
I would have
yeah.
tackled the shit out of him.
No,
He
I'm just
comes
giving
running
his
across.
lawyers an argument. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
no, I would have done the same exact thing. But what I'm saying is that according to the law, which I don't agree with, he is not off the hook completely. But
You're right.
It's a bunch of BS. I mean, at the end of the day, you're right. If you're gonna streak across the field, you're gonna get tackled.
This is where you hope common sense comes into play.
Even if it was a security guard,
Yeah.
right?
Well, because even the security guard can be.
He could have been charged.
Yeah, exactly.
So the thing is it's probably going to go to. This is what's going to happen. If both of these go to court, the judge is going to throw both of them out,
Yeah.
or they're going to plead to the least amount of crime to where it's maybe a small fine, and then it's going to go into civil court.
It'll probably go into some kind of deferment program too. Like the court says, hey,
Yep.
you pay this fine and do this and
This
your
much
management. You know what I mean?
community service
Yeah,
and you're
some.
done.
Yeah,
It's off
we'll
your
get
record.
rid of it.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't be on there.
But it's going to be followed with a lawsuit.
Yeah,
And then they're
that's
going to
where
pay.
it comes to play at. And I think the cameraman probably has a little bit more ground to stand on.
I think they both get paid.
They probably both get paid so it doesn't get drug out. You know what I'm saying? But I think with the cameraman, he's got a little bit more ground to stand on. Like he's supposed to be there. Like you're doing your job. You know what? I get it. Sometimes, the two mix. Like you see cameramen get taken out on the sideline all the time by accident. You know what I mean? So that one, there's more to stand on. This dude running on the field and getting stuck by Bobby Wagner. If I was a judge in that situation, he's trying to sue. I'd be like, look, you don't step on the field, you don't get hurt.
Bro, I almost want to run onto the field so I could get tackled by somebody like Bobby
that's
Wagner.
the thing, though. If this dude,
Not because I want money, because I want to say I got tackled by Bobby Wagner,
bro, you don't
bro.
want that. But like, if this dude, the Bobby Wagner situation, say this dude sues and gets paid,
It's all about money.
how does that not encourage other people to do the
It
same
does.
thing?
It does.
Remember the dude in the Super Bowl
Who's
a
to
couple
say
years
that?
ago?
Who's to say that this didn't influence the cameraman in Kansas City?
Well, what was the dude in the Super Bowl a couple years ago where he was like, he made a bet or something like that there would be a streaker during the game.
Oh, yeah, and then
then
he
he
won.
ran out there and he won and he had the advertisement on him and
Yep.
stuff. Like,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Like,
Was that a Super Bowl? Or
It
that
was the Chiefs versus the Niners, I believe.
yeah.
And he ran out there and made freaking like hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think his fine was like $1,000 or $2,000, and some potential jail time. But like, what's that's the thing, and you never know what these people are trying to do, bro. And I don't. Every time we're watching the game and there's a streaker, and because they don't ever show it, I'm always hoping like, man, I hope somebody took his ass out. Yeah. And then you hear the crowd roar, and you're like, oh, what happened?
Yeah, it happens all the time. You know what I'm interested to see is how is the NFL gonna enforce their punishment, because you know they're going to come with something after the fact. Is it going to be a fine? Is it going to be a suspension? Is it going to be both? Is the Bobby Wagner and Devontae Adams situation going to be treated the same? Or do they do nothing and let just the courts take it?
Has Wagner had anything happen?
He hasn't as of yet.
And I don't think there's anything that come out for Devontae yet, has there?
Well, they said they're currently waiting. They have time to see how everything kind of plays out because the Raiders are on a bye this week. Anyway.
They're going to wait for the Raiders to be in something at the end of the season and be like, oh, by the way, Devontae, you got to sit down again.
Of course, that's how the NFL does the Raiders. You know what I mean? But yeah, hey, listen. All I know is that I hope that the league doesn't go too harsh on this, because we got a guy who only got 10-game suspension for harassing people sexually, and these two dudes These dudes did nothing even close to that. So if you suspend these guys for multiple games, NFL, bleep you.
Oh, sorry, I'm like, what you pointing at over here? My bad.
Anyway, you know somebody who always is doing stuff right, Coach?
Who's doing it right?
I just want to give a shout out to Christian Whitney and Black Sevens. If you need any graphic design work done, make sure you hit up Christian at blacksevens.com. Christian is a native of North Denver and a beast at what he does. He is also a great dude. Visit blacksevens.com right now to see his work. Buy some merch and see all that he has going on. He knocked the DNA logo out the park, and we are super excited to feature his work. Visit blacksevens.com right now for more.
Bam! Shout out Christian. Big ups, brother. It's always good to see you when I come across you, man. It's appreciate everything that you've done for our brand and helping us out. But yo, it's October, Dom. We're fully in the football season. Halloween's like right around the corner. There's just so much fun stuff going on right now, man. But you know what else? Avalanche just kicked off.
Yes, sir.
You know, they raised that banner, showed off them rings.
Defend that crown, baby.
But now my boys are gonna get ready to kick off. They just had their last preseason game you mentioned earlier. Yeah. But the Nuggets about to kick off the season here, man, and I'm super excited for it. Talk about a team with a lot of expectations. Kind of been waiting on this team for a number of seasons now, and it appears that although there is a little chinks in the armor now, but it appears that we're ready for this push. You know, obviously we've got the back-to-back MVP in Nikola Jokic. Jamal Murray, although he's dealing with a quad/hamstring injury right now, he's back from his knee injury.
Yeah.
Michael Porter Jr. is looking healthy
and good.
Aaron Gordon looks like he's ready to play that role that he was brought in for. You look at the free agents that they brought in here and everything they did to shore up that part of it by bringing in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
Yeah.
They brought in Ish Smith for some depth, and they brought in Bruce Brown, who is going to be that defensive guy that comes off the bench. And then they brought DeAndre Jordan in to kind of support Jokic down low. They did lose Monte Morris. They did lose Will Barton. And they did lose. It appears that they lost DeMarcus Cousins, and they traded away Jermichael Green. Facu Campazzo's gone, and so is Austin Rivers. But those two, not as much. I liked Rivers' veteran presence, but you know, so I don't know about that. Monte was a beast for us, and Will, he was up and down for us, man. But
I'm glad.
He served his time. I think his time was up, bro. But
I think his time was long overdue. Honestly, as a Nugget, I mean, I think he's done great things. Yeah. But I think he's also been a big reason why we've lost a lot of games we should have won.
True that.
But yeah, it's very exciting.
Draft was Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, and Ishmael Kamagate.
Yeah, so. And you know who I'm excited to see coming off the bench here and there during that preseason game kind of looked good is Bones Highland, man. He was attacking the basket, and that's what I love in basketball is the people who attack the basket and don't just sit around the perimeter waiting to shoot. Like, drive that ball, get physical. let's make it a ball game. You know what I mean? And for his stature, for him to be doing things like that was phenomenal to see. So it's exciting to see what our bench brings to the Nuggets. Sure. You know,
you echo my sentiment as far as like attacking the basket and getting to the rim. I don't know how many times I've yelled at the TV for this current Nuggets from 10 years ago, where we decide we want to settle and shoot. And it's like, yo, get to the basket. Yo, get to the basket. Yo, get to the basket. We're better getting to the basket. I'm excited to see what happens. I think if we get to the basket, like you say, that opens up our perimeter shots. That makes it easier shots for us to get threes. Michael Porter likes to sit there and catch and shoot. Well, if we're attacking the basket and we make an emphasis and have them respect that inside, we're going to get these open shots, but we got to attack that inside. So
just like in football, the run game complements the pass game. Amen. Like everything is complementary. And you know what I hate is when we get into these, we think we can have a shootout with these teams that are known for this, and then we just fall behind by 20. Just easily because we want to pull up at the perimeter and shoot a three, and we miss 2 or 3 of the 5 shots that we take when they're hitting 4 of the 5 shots that they take.
Instead of attacking that basket, you know what I mean? Stop the momentum.
Exactly.
Well, and you get into playing down the competition, like how many times we lost to teams that we should be beating, that we have no business losing to. So we get that part of it too. Biggest questions this season are obvious. Michael Porter's back. Is it going to hold up? How's that going to work? You know, he's missed. You know, chronic back has been an issue. You know, he lost time in college because of his back. He's lost time now after getting this big contract. Is Jamal Murray going to hold up? You know, that's another big question. Those 11 games when we had Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., and Jokic on the floor, dude, they were 10-1.
Yeah,
they were solid, and they were looking like they're ready to make that push and that next level. And then boom, we had Jamal Murray go down. Right now, the NBA.com has the projected starting 5 is Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Jamal Murray. So that's a nice
lineup,
bro. This is what I think they should have done back after the bubble.
Yeah,
they were so close. Go get that KCP type kid. Go get that Bruce Brown defensive, specialist, where you don't expect a lot from him, but you expect him to lock it down. This is what we should have done, man. I'm so excited to see the key reserves being Bones Highland, Jeff Green, and Bruce Brown, as I just mentioned. I think the Nuggets can definitely win 50 games this year. I'm hoping they win more than that, but I definitely feel like they can win 50 games. BetUs.com has the Nuggets as plus 2,000 to win the NBA championship, plus 1,000 to win the Western Conference. They're minus 150 to win the Northwest Division, so they're I don't know where everyone else stands, but that's not bad.
Yeah.
Like they're highly favored to win that division. They're definitely favored to make a playoff push this year. I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens. I think they win. I think they win 50 games, man. I'm shooting for 52 and lock up that Northwest Division. It's gonna be tough with Minnesota, but.
Yeah, I'm just interested to see again how the health plays out this year because, knock on wood. But I've been kind of really skeptical since the bubble year, right, of Jamal Murray for the fact of, we've talked about this before on previous podcasts, of I felt he could have been good enough to play in the bubble to where we could have maybe won and went a little bit further in the bubble.
Yeah.
And I think he chose to opt out because of the current situation that we were in based off of who we were playing, and we were already down in the series, and he didn't want to kind of put himself at any unnecessary risk, which I also understand, but I just have a problem with slightly.
For sure.
And I just want to see how he bounces back, how he stays healthy, and what he contributes to the Nuggets this year, because he should be the heartbeat of that team. As much as Jokic is our center point, you know what I mean? Like, Jamal Murray really needs to make the team move through him a little bit more, feed Jokic, and then just develop a nice rapport with a couple of the new guys that came on. So I'm interested to see how they stay healthy.
I'm hoping
him and MPJ and just hopefully we hit the ground running.
I'm hoping that Jokic isn't in the MVP conversation for the reasons that he's been in the MVP conversation the last 2 years.
Yeah,
where everything's gone through him. He's had to carry You know, I hope he's in the MVP conversation this year for facilitating more and for being greater. People ask, how can Jokic outdo what he's done the last 2 years? Last year, he did what no other center has ever done in the history of the league. No other player has done in the history of the league in terms of his efficiency rating. How can Jokic get better, right? You wonder, how can he go and win a third MVP award in a row? Like, that's not possible. There's nothing better he can improve on. But when you think about it, then the ability to be the glue for this team, the ability to lead this team to, say, 55 wins and number 2 or number 3 seed in the West or number 1 seed in the West, that will win him the MVP again, I think, especially if he's facilitating more, if he's making things happen more for both MPJ and Jamal Murray. You know what I mean? I think if he's that guy, he'll win. He'll be in the conversation for a completely different reason than he was the previous 2.
If that is the case, do you think potentially a guy like Jamal Murray could also be in that conversation, and we have 2 players in the conversation for MVP?
I think it's possible, but at that point, I don't think either one will win because I think they'll take votes from each other. But I think it's always possible. Like,
they will, but at the same time, if we have 2 players that complement each other so much to the point where they were both in the running for MVP, what does that do for the success of the program?
Dude, that's 55, 56 wins. That's you should be talking about a top seed in the West, right? Yeah. You should be talking about a championship run. You should be having all the aspirations of all that. Like, if you can do that stuff, like I think, was it last year, early in the year, Chris Paul and Devin Booker were both just killing it, and they were both kind of being mentioned as possible MVPs. You know, obviously it didn't finish out the way they wanted, but I think if you can make that a narrative, and you can make it where, oh, is it Jamal? Is it Jokic? That means great success for us. That means we're doing our thing. That means we're making a run, and dude, I'm all about making a run.
Yeah.
I want to make a long playoff run, dude.
That'll be nice to see the Nuggets make a run.
I would love
to defend.
Yes, dude.
And then at the same time, kind of the city just going through both of those things at the same time would be nice.
Dude, the Nuggets have never won a title. They've never been to the NBA Finals. Like,
got close.
We lose our shit if they go. I know I would, bro. I've been of all the local sports teams, the Nuggets are probably my favorite.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And
by far.
Love the Nuggets, bro. Me and my cousin used to have a little 10-game season pass thing that, you know, we'd go every year, and you know, even when he comes out now, we still go and catch a game. Like, that's my squad, bro. I love the Nuggets. So if they were able to make that run, dude, I might lose my shit. Literally, I might have to figure out, you know, if I'm selling a left kidney or left nut or something to get to the NBA Finals games if they made it that far, dude. Because I've been to playoff games before, and it's so electric. To be that next level up in the NBA Finals would be wild, bro. I'm with it. I know you kind of got some Nuggets news that's kind of so you pointed out to me this morning. I want to make sure we don't forget before we get off this topic. But interesting little tweet that you shared with me.
Yeah, you know, again, I'm all for the run as well. Nuggets, let's get it done. But you know, a little tweet I seen this morning that's kind of a topic going around that's interesting, and I just want your opinion on it. We won't dive into it too much. But it has been noted that Rocky, the Denver Nuggets mascot, makes 3 times more than the highest paid WNBA player. He makes $625,000 a year annually.
Golly.
While the highest paid WNBA player makes $231,000 annually a year. My question is does this show more that women need to be paid more, or does this prove that you can't really force a market where there is no demand? You know, like, I think it's a little bit of both. Honestly, in my opinion, I think the women do need to get paid more, but I also think that the reality of the fact is that ratings, fan, merch sales,
the economics,
everything that goes into the NBA is what makes the NBA and the salaries of the NBA. So I think, you know, to kind of hold them up against each other is unfair. In a sense, it's kind of like saying Strikeforce is on the same level as the UFC or Bellator or any of those other competing, you know, MMA leagues are on the same level as the UFC. They're not. You know what I mean? But it's a little crazy to see. I know this isn't we talked about it. This isn't an NBA salary. You know, this is more of an employee salary, but
it's
still.
just it's a little apples to oranges in that. But you know, it does stir up other conversations in terms of like what is the WNBA doing compared to some of these other leagues that they're not garnering garnering more people to watch their product or to bring in their product. They don't have the TV contracts that the NBA has or that some of these leagues have. Like Nuggets have their own sports entertainment company, Kroenke Sports.
Yeah.
You know? So I imagine a lot of that salary is coming from that kind of thing. But it highlights again, you know, I see the women on the WNBA, they have a TV contract with ESPN. Now, how much they make off of it, I don't know. And that goes back to wondering what the actual split is for the collective bargaining agreement. I think it's hard for some of these WNBA players to say they're going to hold out or, you know, they're going to want to do something different with the revenue split or, you know, because if they do, potentially their league goes away, you know. Some of these women are making more money overseas playing. I mean, that's part of why Brittany Griner went to Russia, right? For whatever reason, the market and economics isn't here. Now, you can argue whether or not they get a fair shake in terms of like how they're advertised and what they're advertised and who they're advertised to and this and that. And, you know, the price of the contract in which they negotiated for these TV rights and things like that. I definitely think there's some ways to address it, but it's just crazy that a NBA mascot makes $635,000, dude.
Yeah, and you know, maybe
he's the best mascot in the game, though.
Yeah, maybe, you know, some of the onus is on the consumer and not necessarily the organizations as well. You know, like you said, like maybe if we put more value or more interest into what they're offering, they'll start to make more money. Why don't we have a lot more of these women-ran products or companies giving more endorsements to some of these female athletes and putting them all throughout the TV and you know, showcasing them as the name of their brand,
for sure.
You know, so that way we're pushing them a little bit more and we're drawing more attention to watch them. If we see, you know, X, Y, and Z on a Nike commercial or whatever, you know, it's going to draw you in to watch them more. So maybe some of the onus is on the other companies to add a little bit of endorsements to some of these ladies' way, or the consumer ourselves. Maybe we just need to give a little bit more attention to these leagues, if we want, you know, them to grow.
Have you listened to Bill Burr at all?
No.
All right, Bill Burr is a comedian. He has a Netflix special on Red Rocks, and he's basically talking about the same thing. He was mentioning, like, you know, the WNBA and comparing it with NBA salaries and this and that, but then he's talking about the lack of support that the WNBA gets from consumers, like people that champion for these people to have the same right or the same pay rights and things like that don't show up to the games, you know, and that's the hard part. These networks that champion for these women to get paid the same aren't showing up with the same kind of offer for the games as they're showing up for some other things.
That's,
you know what I'm saying? And that's where a lot of that money comes from. Yeah,
that's 100% correct too. I could even sit here today and say that I own a part of that. You know, that if there's a WNBA game and there's an NBA game on at the same time, that I most likely am going to be watching the NBA game and tuning in here and there to the WNBA. And
that's why they staggered their seasons.
Yeah, and you know, so like, again, I think as a consumer myself that I can do better, that we all can do better to try to grow the WNBA and its market around that. And
I don't think the WNBA has done what the NBA has in terms of, like, here's my star, let's put him out there. Exactly. Like, here's my star, let me throw him down your throat real quick. Like, you can't see enough of LeBron, you can't see enough of KD, you can't see enough of Steph Curry. Like, the NBA will jam a star down your throat.
I think they did more of that with like Lisa Leslie back
Yeah.
in the day, or Tarasi, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when they had those players in the WNBA, they put a lot more
Well, they've got some really good talent now
behind them.
too.
No, they have great talent.
Yeah.
But I just don't see the, like you said, the support or the backing behind them as much as you did when Lisa Leslie was in her prime. You know?
Yeah, I think obviously like Sue Bird retired this year, and she's a great. There's definitely some great talent. It's got to get back to that, though. It's got to get back to, hey, we're propping this up. And like I said, WNBA needs to take a page out the NBA book, and whether that's figuring out a way to get more of that money in for advertisement or something, like a gimmick or something. But they definitely have a good product. I mean, the Las Vegas Aces just won the title. And it seems like Mark Davis is doing the right thing there, too. Mm-hmm. That stadium is filled. Like they're getting the support, so maybe it will change. It just takes one team to do it the right way.
It does,
and then other teams start following suit. So I definitely would love to see a better advertisement of their product. Get their product out there on ABC. Get their product out there on Fox or one of these broadcast stations that aren't cable, because that's the other thing too. If you're only broadcasting on ESPN, you're limiting to the amount of people that can see your thing, right? But if you can figure out a way to get on CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox. Get it broadcast out there at least once a week.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That would go a long way in terms of building your overall brand. That's why the NFL is the monster it is, because you can turn on any of those channels and you'll find a game. Even Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football's in now Thursday night. They're on like an alternate, like a cable network kind of thing.
I mean, yeah. Even though they're branching over, right, and it hasn't been as successful as people wanted, the NFL has moved from cable to now streaming platforms as well. So they're keeping up with the Joneses. They're
just
keeping
spreading
up
their
with
market.
the times. And
there's not a place you can't get their product.
Growing. Yeah, exactly. You're 100% right in that. Hey, but before we move on from that, Coach, I just want to highlight Rocky, right? And what he does and what all these mascots do, and put perspective into young kids' heads, man. It's like you can do whatever you want to do in life, and there are a lot of different opportunities to be successful, even if it's not the conventional one. Yep. This guy is a mascot making $625,000 a year. Where did I go wrong?
I don't think what I mean? I don't think you're goofy enough, Coach.
I don't think I can.
And you don't fit in the uniform.
I don't think that's
me either.
That's a for sure fact, but I definitely can't do those backflips. And
I couldn't do the half court shot, bro.
I could hit a half court shot probably once in my career.
Backwards?
Probably once in my career, but not consistently.
He's like once a week.
That. So, shout out to Rocky.
My head's too big to fit in the Rocky head.
Yeah, definitely. You just have to have the body and just your normal head outside of it.
The suit stretched out, a little bit of my gut hanging out from underneath it.
Yeah.
The head just sitting on top like a yarmulke. It don't even go all the way down. It just sit on the top of my head.
You'll make the suit look like a schmedium.
It'll be like on that movie Old School when he tells the kids Spanish, put your mask back on. You're scaring all the kids. He's walking around like a dinosaur and he's carrying his mask. He's mad. Put that on. You're scaring the kids.
Man.
Hey, bro. Shout out to Rocky and shout out to the kids.
Yeah. Shout out to the kids. And speaking of kids, man, there's been some controversy that's a little close to home. We won't touch too much on it, but at the end of the day, whether what was right, what was wrong during what escalated to the final conclusion, there's kids that are being impacted, and it doesn't sit right completely with me. To bring you up to speed, the 6th grade Wheat Ridge Vikings have been 365-day suspension from Jeffco Youth Football for what seems to be a verbal disagreement on the field over a play call. I wasn't there, so I can't speak to the details. I could only speak to what I seen on the news and what I've heard kind of. Either way, I think sometimes as coaches, it's our job to make sure that we protect the integrity of our program and the well-being of our kids, and we have to sometimes bite our tongue in certain situations and kind of be the bigger person and just walk away from a situation, even if it's wrongdoing, because it could have a bigger impact on life. But at the same time, I think holding an entire 20-something kid roster accountable for one person's actions or comment is just absurd. I think you can punish one kid, but to punish the whole team is ridiculous. And there wasn't even one kid in particular. This incident wasn't a kid.
Yeah, it was a disagreement between coach and
it was
referee,
a disagreement between the coach and the referee. And that was enough grounds to suspend an entire 6th grade team. Like, these kids are going home probably and asking their parents at night, what did they do wrong?
Yeah.
What did I do wrong, Mom? And you know, again, I don't want to sit up here and sound like a complete hypocrite, right? Because we were just in a situation on our team where I had to ask a player to step away from our program because we couldn't see eye to eye as adults.
Yep.
You know, however, I offered several different alternatives to provide that kid with the opportunity to completely still keep playing football and compete, whether it was on our team or if I had to do whatever I could to get him on another team.
Yeah.
I didn't take football away from the child. In this instance, there was an argument between the referee and the coach over a questionable play call, which escalated to suspending an entire football program. Jeffco, you know, I'm not telling you how to run your organization by any means, but I will say right is right and wrong is wrong. A bunch of 6th grade kids shouldn't be punished for the actions of one individual. And regardless of whether this one individual has other instances, which I don't know is the case, but regardless of what Jeffco, how they see it, you have to see it at the end of the day as you're punishing multiple kids for somebody else's actions.
Yeah.
And that's what's not right in the situation.
My whole beef with this situation, and like, I agree with you in terms of, like, as a coach, you're held to a different standard. You're not in charge of just your actions. Your actions have repercussions for a whole team, a whole coaching staff, a whole school in some situations, a whole program, you know, whole athletic department, a whole organization, right? Your actions have consequences regardless. So I understand that part. My frustration with it all is the inconsistency in how it was approached from a league side. Whether or not they followed or went through their own bylaws, I don't know. I'm not on that side of things, but it doesn't appear that they followed their own bylaws in handing down the suspension. If you want to suspend the coach for the entire year, or the 365, or you don't want the coach part of that league no more, that's a different story. That's a different conversation, and we can find some middle ground on that.
Yeah.
To hold 28 young men responsible for their actions of their coach, I think is a little bit of an overreach.
Yeah.
I don't think these kids deserve to be taken off the field and told they can't play football. I think some of these kids might really depend on football in a major way. And I think to take that from them kind of gives them opportunity. We talked about this on previous podcasts. It gives them opportunity to find other things to fill that void.
Yep.
And I don't think that's necessarily the best thing for them. Now, obviously, it's a teaching moment. It's a teaching moment to tell your kids, like, listen, regardless of the situation, your actions may not directly affect just you, but they may affect everyone else around you. And, you know, there's ways to find positives out of the situation, as hard and frustrating as it is. And believe me, parents for the 6th grade team, believe me, I understand your frustration, and I'm not in no way sympathetic to your frustration. Like, I get it, and I understand. It gives us an opportunity to look at ourselves and be like, we got to do better too.
Yeah.
What was alleged to have been said, if it's true, like, okay, then suspend the coach, but don't suspend the kids. Like,
Yeah.
The kids should not feel the brunt of this. If it was kids fighting on the field, or if the kids was, yelling at the referee, and I get that. But you have a situation where parents are going to fans are going to fan, and you got a coach that's responsible for them fans. And if he wasn't doing his job, follow the rules of the bylaws, you suspend him like you say you suspend him for 2 games. and then bring him back.
Yeah.
Right. Or you suspend him for the season and, hey, someone else has to step up and coach these kids as the head coach.
Yeah. And which, I know that Wheat Ridge has reached out to the league several times and offered up solutions of that nature of we'll play with no coaches.
Yeah.
We'll play with no fans. Just let the kids play football.
Let them finish the season.
And we've all been there, Coach. We've been coaching for a long time. We've been in situations. I've been in situations where I have costed my team a victory due to personal fouls.
Yep.
And, you have to own up to that, and you have to tell them, this one's on me. I apologize. We'll move forward. I got to be better as an individual. I've also been in situations where we talked about before we got on the podcast where we're on the road in a heated environment and the referee physically put his hands on me. But I had to just be the bigger person and not react how I wanted to react, and I had to do that because I knew if I would have reacted the way I reacted on the road in the environment we were in, it would have blew up into a way bigger situation that would have affected not only myself, but it would have probably affected every single kid on my team, and it would also put a black eye on our program because it could have escalated to something different, but it's all about how we bounce back from the mistakes we make. And I just want to give a shout out to Coach Art. He's doing whatever he can to make sure that the season isn't over for these kids. I know him personally, and I know that whether his comment was enough to get a whole team suspended or not, that's not his intent behind it. He's a good dude. He loves these kids that he coaches. He coaches for all the right reasons, and he's trying to provide a season for them even after their season was stolen from them by the league. He had a scrimmage last night versus the Junior Buffs, and I know he has one coming up versus a Colorado Springs team as well. So, shout out to you, Coach. Continue to try to bounce back from this situation and don't let what doesn't break us makes us, right? And if you could push back through it, don't just go through it, grow through it, do you. If you need any support, you could reach out to me at any given time. And again, we're not judged off of the lapse of character that we have or the comments that we make. We're judged on how we react from that, and so far so at this current time you're reacting in the right way by trying to provide your kids with the opportunity to continue to play the game. So my hat's off to you for that.
I always liken it to driving in the car, bro. If I'm driving by myself and I have no one else with me in my car, my only care is myself and the people on the road. If someone cuts me off and I react to it, that's consequences directly fall to me, right?
Yep.
But if I have my kids, their friends, maybe a friend in the car or somebody else in the car, I no longer am responsible just only solely for myself. I'm responsible for everybody in that vehicle. And if I do something, even if it's not intended, if someone cuts me off and I give them the burden and that person does something crazy, that's my actions that cause it. And so we make decisions all the time that doesn't necessarily seem like it's a big deal.
Yep.
Like you don't think the consequences are going to be as grave as they are. And I think sometimes we also overreact. And with so much going on in the country, with people being shot at games, coaches being shot at games, and the zero tolerance thing kind of being a big issue, I also think that this is part of it too.
Yeah.
But that still leads me to believe that this is an overreach by the league. So
it is.
Shout out to them sixth grade Vikings. Keep fighting, keep pushing, keep playing, keep practicing. Stick to your discipline and understand that things happen for a reason, and sometimes things happen that you have no control over. All you can do is, like you say, grow with it and be better.
You said it. And to those young men, if you're listening, there's going to be oftentimes in life where you're impacted by something that you have no control over, like Coach said, and you just have to not feel sorry or anything like that for yourself. You got to continue to push on and continue to do what got you to that point. And know that tough times are only temporary and tough times don't last. Tough people do. So continue to push. I know you all have it in you. I'm super proud of the resilience that you guys showed last night, even though the game didn't go your way, to go and play a different team that you have never seen before, and still stay together as a team after being impacted like you guys have been impacted is truly remarkable, and my hat's off to all you young gentlemen.
Comeback's always greater. Hey, bro, before we get out of here, because we're about done, want to hit him into that mailbag. My man Sully, shout out to Sully for hitting us up, and thank you for putting your name on it, Sully. You folks want to hit us up on the mailbag, hit up DNASportsDenver.com/askDNA. Submit a question, comment, concern, anything you want to hear on the show. We'll make sure and touch on it. But Dom, Sully had a question for us. Sully would like to know our thoughts on the college football transfer portal and how it seems to be reshaping the landscape of college football. What do you think?
Me personally, I like the portal. I think that it's reshaping it in the fact that it gives the opportunity and a little bit more power back to the athlete, right? I think there's rules in place so that way it doesn't get abused and you don't see kids changing team from year to year to year, because I know if you change from one team to another and you do it multiple times, you have a year penalty. And there's only a certain time frame in which you can transfer into the portal. So I know there's rules in place to where the portal can't blatantly be abused, but I also know with every system there's always loopholes.
Absolutely.
So, I do think that it's great in the fact that you may get a kid who's highly recruited to a top-end school because he's a great athlete, but still falls on the bottom of that depth chart and never sees the field, and can fall into this am I not good enough kind of way of thinking, maybe even lead to some depression, So the fact that some of these kids that go to schools can still have the opportunity to maybe go to a less known school and showcase their talents, or even to another school and get the opportunity to showcase their talents, I think that's great for these young athletes. I think if we start to see certain teams get these power rosters in which all kids are transferring to one particular school year in and year out, and it becomes obvious that there's some malicious wrongdoing going on, then I think everybody needs to step in and kind of retweak the rules at that point. But I like that the portal has offered the opportunity for kids who just find themselves in the wrong fit to find a better location.
Someone is at the front door.
I think that bad podcasting right there. I'm sorry about that, but I like that it's reshaping the landscape of college football, and I hope it doesn't get abused. I can see the concern in it, and I definitely have some concern in it myself. But like I said, I think I like the fact that it makes it more about the athlete and less about the school.
I'll agree, man. I think it's been great for some situations. We talked about it before the program about Brandon and his situation and being able to get an opportunity to play and be a major contributor. I think the only thing that scares me is the NIL deals now that are kind of coming in play, and so now you can get some guys get some money to go somewhere else. So that's as you say, the gray areas and some of these new rules that come up that need to be refined. But I'm fully supportive of it, man. I like the idea that sometimes as an 18-year-old kid, you make a decision to go to a school, and you base that decision on feelings that you had, and sometimes your feelings change. We grow, we change as we grow up and become more mature, and maybe how we were playing or what we were playing for, our desires change and what we want to do changes. So it gives the opportunity for a kid to at least get the playing time, get on the field if they're not getting opportunities. So I definitely I dig it. I understand the reshaping of the college landscape, but I also understand that teams are evolutionary. They'll find a way to adapt and make it through. So I'm all with it, man. Shout out Sully for hitting us up with that question. Shout outs to Arsenal Custom Apparel. Shout out to Rebel Promotions, Black Sevens, Genesis Catering, Lash All Beauty. Dom, we're getting it ready to get out of here, bro. Just shout out to anybody that just continues to follow us and loves us, man.
Yeah, man. I want to give a special shout out again to those 6th grade Wheat Ridge Vikings, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. Continue to push on. Know that this isn't the end of the road for you, regardless of however the situation plays out. Coaches and players and fans you'll be all right. You guys have a great program, a great coaching staff, great players on that team, and I believe that regardless of the outcome of the suspension, you guys will be successful. So shouts out to you.
Shout out, guys. Keep it up. Keep up the hard work. Until next time, man, make sure you follow us on all of our socials. Hit up DNASportsDenver.com. Book a session. Grab some gear. We out.
Mini Vikings game day, baby. Let's go.